Hello everyone. So where we left off on the last video, I had built my palette and now I am just painting in the swatches so that we can have a look at the whole palette put together. If you want to watch that video, I'll put a link to it in the description so you can check out the first half. It was just how to fill the artist toolkit and going through the color selection. So this first color that we have is the Hansa Yellow Deep. So this is going to be my cool yellow. Then the next color that I chose was the New Gamboge, and this is going to be my warm yellow. Then we have the Quinacridone Gold, which is this gorgeous, really deep, sort of flowing color from core. This is just a supplementary yellow. And then we have the Transparent Red Oxide, which looks very similar to the Quinacridone Gold, but it just has a little bit more red in it. It's more of a burnt orange color, and it's great for mixing. Next up, we have one of the convenience greens that I chose, which is Serpentine Genuine. This is a really interesting color by Daniel Smith. It has some kind of neon qualities, but also has some sediment that's on top that's kind of brown. And also kind of along the same lines, but darker, is the Green Appetite Genuine. It just has so much interest to it and they work well together. We have Raw Sienna, which is a great mixing color, just a nice natural sort of yellowy brown. And we also have Burnt Umber, which is a nice, rich, sort of red-leaning brown. This will be great to paint things like sticks and trees bark and stuff like that, so that will be really handy. I didn't have this color in my last palette, so I'm excited to have it in this one. Next up, we have our cool leaning red for our mixing. This is the Quin Rose from Daniel Smith, or Quinacridone Rose. Such a beautiful, vibrant, pinkish red. And then we have this super rich Pyrrole Red or Pyrrole Red from M. Graham. I'm excited to use this one. I haven't used this one at all, so I'm hoping it's a good mixing color. But it just flows so interestingly, it's beautiful. And then we have the gorgeous Potter's Pink. This one is quite an invaluable color when you're mixing. It just adds a lot of granulation without tinting it too much. It sort of just tones colors down, but gives you a nice texture. Then we have this Cobalt Teal by Core, which I haven't used a lot of either, so that's going to be exciting. Just to add a little pop of color for skies and things. Then we have this Dirty Olive Green from Daniel Smith. I haven't used this one either very much, but it looks like a deliciously rich color, so that's going to be great for leaves and foliage. And then we have Undersea Green, which is a fan favorite of Daniel Smith. Just a really interesting color to have on your palette. We have Burnt Sienna. This is the M. Graham version, so it flows very well. It's very rich, very red toned. And we also have Raw Umber, which is a really delicious sort of rich yellowy greeny brown, which will be fantastic. I was missing browns from my last palette build, so I'm really excited to have a bunch of these earth tones in it. Now we have our cool leaning blue, which is the Phthalo Blue from Daniel Smith. It's an awesome mixing color. And also the indispensable Ultramarine, or French Ultramarine actually, from Daniel Smith. This is a highly granulating mixing color, just super useful to have in your palette. And then I did sneak back in the Anthraquinone Blue, which I was debating whether I needed with the Ultramarine. I probably don't, but I just want to play with it a little bit, so I popped this back in the palette. This is by M. Graham, so you can see it's really rich and flowy. And then the gorgeous Payne's Grey from M. Graham as well. This is a really sort of grey-leaning one. Some Payne's Greys are much bluer, but I really like this one. It's very deep and moody. Then we have the exciting Luna Blue from Daniel Smith. This is super granulating. I'm excited to use this. I don't know how much I'm going to use it, but it's a really interesting color, so I wanted to have it on my palette to try it out. because I wanted to add in this shadow green by Holbein. I haven't used it a bunch, so I normally just use straight up Perylene green, but this is going to be an interesting addition and hopefully add a little bit more interest. And then this one, I wasn't sure if I was going to put it in, but I ended up putting it in, is the Forest Grey by Schmincke. This is such an interesting color. It goes on kind of just this dark brownish grey, but it dries, it has a bunch of granulation, it kind of has some green and brown separation. So this, you could paint a leaf all by itself. And then this last one, we have Bloodstone Genuine, which is a slightly red leaning black kind of color, and it's great for mixing. So I wanted to add that in. I also have a Buff Titanium, which I didn't put on the swatching chart, but I'll put it in the description in case you're looking for the colors I used. Alright, so here are all of our colours all swatched out and dry and labelled, and this is how the palette is going to look. I think I'm going to probably switch the raw umber with the burnt umber, just so that I have sort of the yellowy tones up here and the more red tones here. I know this is probably a weird layout for some people, and you're wondering why I didn't group all my earth tones together. It's probably just because I'm a bit of a weirdo and I'm a left-hander, so I always have my palette on the left. So I'm kind of imagining that I'm going to use these greens and browns more. So I wanted to position them sort of closer to the right side so I can access them faster. But in my brain, it makes sense. And I think I'm just going to try it this way, and I think you should also have the freedom if you want to arrange your palette in any way that you want. It doesn't have to be rainbow order. I kind of did from lights to darks and kept my reds and blues and such together because that's kind of intuitive. But I say do whatever you want and what's going to work best for you, and you're more likely to use your palette and have a better time and have an easier time. So along with the big swatching chart, I also decided to make a little chart that I could keep with the palette while I'm learning the colors. It's always nice just to have a little reference. I'm just using a flat brush here. I'm not putting sort of the graduated swatches or anything. It's just a little sort of key for me to learn the palette and know where the paints are. I find these really helpful when you create a new palette because it's easy to forget, especially with this number of colors, what's what. And if you don't know the names of them, at least you can see what the color looks like and be able to grab that when you're painting. After I painted the little swatches, I just put some packing tape over it. It actually just happened to be the exact size, which was funny. I didn't cover the whole thing. I just did a pretty crappy job. But anyway, it'll protect it from paint smatterings and such. And then I just had to line it up on the back so that when I flip it out, I'll be able to see all the colors pretty easily, as well as it not taking up too much room. I wanted to try and keep it as low profile as possible, seeing when the palette is open, it's pretty long. And then I just used a little bit of decorative washi to stick it on. After I did this, I also sort of flipped it open and put some masking tape on the inside as well, just to make sure that it stayed on really well. So these are just some little watercolor butterflies that I painted, and then I created transfer stickers from them. These are just sort of ultra thin, and I thought maybe putting 1 or 2 on here might be kind of fun. So what I am worried about is that they're sort of dark toned. They're more made to be put on sort of lighter color backgrounds. I'm worried that this black is going to fade into the black. So I think maybe this one would be good. Maybe the little brown one or the red one. I have my little froggies too. These are just some little illustrations that I did. This is a little grayer, so maybe we'll try this one. So with these, I'm just going to remove it from the backing like that, and you can see that it's just like a little transfer sticker. So this plastic will come off and then the transfer sticker will stay on. So let's just put it here, and then you want to rub really well on the actual image, not on the surrounding plastic so much. You want to leave a corner that you haven't really stuck down so it's easy to get off. And then you want to pull it back slowly. Nice and slow, so if you see that something hasn't stuck, you can just reapply it. Yay! Yay! There we go. So these are like water resistant, so should last for a little bit. I like that. So maybe I'll put the red one or the pink one on the front here. All right. Oh, that's cute. So this is just some Tomoe River paper, so it's going to act differently to watercolor paper. I like to just paint pretty fast and just block stuff in. I don't want to labor over this. I'm not really paying a lot of attention to detail. It's kind of just a textural impression, and I am just going to have fun. So the photo that I have has some pretty high saturated yellows and greens in it. So I'm hoping that this new palette will allow me to do that. And what I'm using is this Pentel Aquash brush. This is the large one, I think, because I just like to lay down color. So this is the perfect sort of test for this little palette and what I'm going to be using. And I just drew a couple of little leaves from a photo that I took on a walk that I had recently in my neighborhood. So I think I'm going to start with the lightest colors first, which is the easiest way to work with watercolors. So I'm going to start with my yellow, and I need to push out a little bit of water on here. So it's actually, the color that I'm doing is sort of a little greener. So it's sort of like a green yellow, and I'm liking this little palette actually. It's not really running off or beating up, so that's kind of cool. I think I need a little bit of brown in here. So my browns are over here. It's kind of like a ochre color. So yeah, I kind of want to dirty it up a little bit. So I'm just gonna sort of quickly put some color in. Again, I'm not really gonna pay a lot to the details. I'm kind of just leaving some white space because it's way more interesting, but I'm just going to lay some of this color down. I think what I'm trying to achieve when I'm sketching is just sort of a feeling of the day. Just if I find some interesting leaf or something, I just want to document it, and I just enjoy sort of looking at the different textures and colors. I have a little dust-free cloth here. If I'm in my studio, I tend to use a different like little sponge so that I can reuse it. But when I'm out and about, I just use these dust-free towels, paper towels. Okay, so I've got some of that yellowy green in. Now I'm gonna do some of this Serpentine Genuine because there's some really sort of limey green stuff in here as well, and I'm just kind of dotting it on. You know, with these aqua brushes, you really kind of don't know how much water is going to come out. You sometimes you have a lot, sometimes you don't. You can always squeeze the barrel to get more water out. I don't like squeezing it while I'm actually painting, but when you're on the palette here, you can kind of squeeze some out to dilute the paint. But just trying to get the gist of the colors in here. So this leaf has sort of very yellowy brown colors around the edges, and then it has these bright, vibrant sort of lime greens in the center here. And this leaf below here has a lot more of that lime green, so that's going to be fun. And a little bit of darker green as well. So again, I'm trying to leave some white space here. The light is actually coming from this direction, so I'm sort of leaving that open. But you're just kind of getting a general impression of the colors, having a bit of fun. I am going to put some darker green down the middle because that's where most of the dark green is, and I might put a little bit more yellow back in here. So I'm going to clean my brush again, and I'm going to do, maybe I need just a little bit more of that brown up here, because the leaf up here just has a little bit of sort of the dirty brown in it. I kind of want to show that. So this is drying out kind of fast on the palette here. I can always add more water. That's going to be really nice for traveling because it's not going to go everywhere. Once I finish painting and pack up pretty fast, it looks like it's going to be easy to just leave the colors on there, which I really like to do because sometimes when I get home, I will kind of take a photo of this so I have a record of it. It's just fun, and I can use it to make stickers and stuff. But I will also kind of do a bit of splatter work over the top of it because I think it just looks really nice. Okay, so we've got those colors going there. We've got some little patches of white, which I really like. We've got some bright color here, some light coming in here, some light coming in here. Want a little bit more kind of the light green here. I do want to leave that white there because the light is coming from over there. Okay, so we got a good blend here. And when this dries on the Tomoe River, we're going to get some sort of watermarks and stuff. It's really interesting. But while it's still wet, I'm going to add a little bit of the darker green. So I think I'm going to go with the Apatite because it still has that sort of vibrant green undertone. I'm going to water that down. So I'm just squeezing the brush here a little bit to get a little bit more water out because I don't want it too saturated. And then I'm just going to take that lid off because it's annoying me. Just going to dot it in down here and let it sort of bleed out into the rest of the lighter green. We have some little bits over here. And again, this is drying with some of that really acidic green in it, which I love from these two colors. The Serpentine Genuine and the Apatite Genuine have those really sort of neon undertones. So I wonder if we're going to get a lot more of that when it dries. Okay, so I think I'm going to leave that one alone. And let's move on to this guy down here. So again, the same kind of pattern. This one is a little brighter. So I'm going to mix another bit of... Oop, we're moving around here. Just squeezing out a little bit more water. I want a little bit more of the yellow up here. And I want to dilute it quite a bit, so I'm going to squeeze a little bit more water in there. Yeah, I like this little mixing palette up here. There's a lot of space. In my other one, in this one here, it's much more, it's like half the amount of space. So having this real estate feels like a real treat for me. So let's add a little bit more of that yellow. I'm going to block in some of this very vibrant yellow here. And I'm actually just going to wipe that off on the top here. I just dabbed it with the clean corner of my little towel here because the light is coming in over there. And again, I want to keep some white space in there just because it's fun. It gives the eye a rest. Okay, and then this is much darker, but I think I'm still going to use the Serpentine Genuine. Oops, and I have a lot of water on my brush right now, which is fine. I'm just kind of mixing this in. And I'm not going to use any of the raw sienna in this one because there really is no brown to the colors in this one. And these are kind of reaching out over here. And then I'm going to add some of that darker one. And I might, just mixing these two together actually, I think I might need a little hint of blue in this. Let's see, let's try our ultramarine. What does that do? That kind of muddies it. What if I did the phthalo? That makes it too blue. What about our anthraquinone? Yeah, that looks better. I still want it a little more. That's more like it. Here we go. So just dotting that in. I think I'm going to go in with that. Yes, so we can see some of that sort of vibrant color coming out, but it is a lot darker on my photo here. So I think think we'll drop that in, and then maybe what I'll do is I'll wait for this to dry and maybe layer some more on top of it. But yeah, we're getting some of this sort of really vibrant green in there, which is what I wanted. So that's from the Green Appetite Genuine. Because this is still wet, it's all kind of blurring together. So what I might do is just wait for this to dry and then see if we need to put any definition in. Oh, but I do want to paint this little branch here. And this little branch is that same kind of green here, but there is a little bit more of a blue hue to that. And again, I mean, this is just really fast painting. I'm just having fun. I'm not trying to do a realistic painting. I'm really just trying to capture some texture, and I just enjoy painting like this. I like having it really fast. I don't feel the pressure of trying to create something that's hyper realistic, and it gives a lovely impression, I think. And with this paper especially, it's sort of drying with these little watermarks on there, which I love. Again, with this paper, you're not going to get that level of sort of absorption and blending. All the kind of brush marks stand out, and that's really fun, I think. But I just wanted to try out this Tomoe River paper because I have really been enjoying it, and it's just really fun to work with. But I feel like if you are a really good watercolorist or you're used to watercolor paper, this is a different kind of experience. You're not going to get those sort of soft blends that you like or washes. This is me just sort of mark making, and I really like the effect actually. Okay, so I do want to clear a little space up here. So I'm just going to wipe some paint off the palette here. And this does seem to have stained, which is okay. I might try some brush cleaner on here to see whether that will come off. That's fine for what I need right now. I just want to see if I want to put a little bit of light color in here. I do like the white, but I also just want, wow, this M. Graham paint is so sticky. Okay, so I just want kind of a very watered down, so I'm squeezing on the barrel here to get a bunch of water out. And I just want to do like a little bit of a light wash to take the harshness off the white on the edges here. I might even just dab that back a little bit. So I think I do want to add just a little bit more darkness in here just for some contrast. Let's try the undersea green. Whoa, that is a lot of water in this brush all of a sudden. Yeah, I like that. I like just a little bit more definition. Yeah, okay, I like that better. I like just a little bit more definition, breaking up that darker green there. That looks good. The last thing I wanted to do was kind of do a little bit of splatter on it just for fun, a little bit more dimension. I find that these brushes, the Pentel ones, don't really splatter very well. So I always carry like a little vial of water. I'll use one of these sort of travel brushes, and I'm just gonna pick up some colors in here. I think I like the idea of having some of the yellow. So I want it quite watery, and I'm just gonna tap it. And then I like to do a couple of the other colors too, just sort of to tie it together. Sometimes I'll just do one if I want to sort of emphasize a color, but I think having a couple of colors is kind of fun. Do I need anything else? I think maybe just some of this Serpentine Genuine. Okay, so I think that is good, and we'll we'll just let that dry and then we can take a closer look. And in the meantime, I am going to try and clean this palette off. Normally I would just leave it on here, but I just want to test how the palette cleans. So let's do that. All right, so let's have a go at cleaning this palette off. I'm just going to use a damp paper towel here. These are my favorite paper towels. They're lint-free, so they don't tend to leave a whole bunch of dust on your stuff, which is really nice. Little fibers or anything. I'll put it in the description what these are. I can't remember what the brand is off the top of my head. Okay, so an initial wipe down shows that the staining colors are staining. So that's to be expected. That is quite a lot of staining, which is interesting. So let's try a little bit of this brush cleaner to see whether that will remove it, and it will also clean my brush in the meantime as well. So I put a little bit of water on there. I'm just gonna grab a little bit of the brush cleaner. And see if that lifts any of that staining. It's definitely cleaning my brush. Can't tell yet if it's lifting that paint off or it's just cleaning my brush. But yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so you're definitely gonna get some staining. Let's just do a little bit more fresh water just to get that brush cleaner off. Yeah, so you're definitely gonna get a little bit of staining. That's kind of to be expected on a plastic sort of palette. So I think it's going to be perfectly fine. I'll update you guys if I see a lot of staining in the future that just makes it unusable. But yeah, I think this is okay so far. I went ahead and played around with these colors. I just wanted to see some of the mixes, like the greens. I wanted to see how they compared to the convenience greens that I put in there. And I think it's kind of nice that there's some really sort of vibrant greens I can make with this anthraquinone blue. Very similar to the ultramarine. The ultramarine has a bunch more granulation, so I'm not sure that these, I'm definitely not gonna need both of these blues in my palette, but I think I'm gonna keep playing around with it just to see if I prefer one over the other. I've always liked ultramarine just because of that granulation effect, but in my little journals that I take out and about, I don't tend to use watercolor paper that much. So although I did just buy these little watercolor books from, I think it's Potentate? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. And I just wrote a cold press on here because they don't actually have any labeling once you take the little labels off. And actually on the little labels, they don't have that either. So I decided to write it on there straight away so I wouldn't forget. But they come in a little pack of 2 and they're just nice and tiny. And this one here is the shiny covers, the cold press, and then the matte covers. There's a brown one. I don't know where that is right now. The hot press, and I prefer the hot press. I did some little swatching in here with some other colors before I created this palette, but it acts quite differently to the Tomoe River or my other journaling paper from Paper Republic. So I think I'm gonna, once I finish my Paper Republic book, I'm probably gonna transition to this because it's 100% cotton, and I just really like how it behaves. So I think these are gonna be really nice. This is on 100% cotton paper here. This is just Art BLICK paper. It's not the best quality 100% cotton, but I just wanted to see how they all sort of turned out with some granulation and stuff. But look at this French ultramarine and quin rose. Rose of ultramarine, I think, is the color that you get. You can buy it as a pre-made color from Daniel Smith, but it just produces the most beautiful sort of florally pink and purple tones. So if I'm ever out painting flowers, I'm going to be happy I have those 2 in my palette. And then I kind of just mixed the Bloodstone Genuine in with a couple of colors. It just adds a ton of texture and granulation, and it just, you know, I put it in there as my sort of black a substitute, and it just sort of tones everything down. I've got another mix here, which is the Payne's Grey and the Bloodstone Genuine, and then I did the Shadow Green in the Bloodstone Genuine. So, I mean, it's pretty intuitive mix. It doesn't really shift the color that much. It just makes it darker, but I just kind of wanted to play around with that. I was actually shocked by the phthalo blue and pyrrole red, getting this really dark purple color, and then this beautiful sort of muted pink. What else did I really like? Oh, this was fun, the olive green and transparent red oxide. This is a really yummy color, and just sort of you can make a bit more of a duller orange from that transparent red oxide. Oh yeah, and Luna Blue and Burnt Sienna. Look at this beautiful sort of, I used quite a lot of water with this mix here, so it's pretty subdued. I think that makes a really nice sort of reddish brown color. And then we've got a bunch of granulation in here from that Luna Blue. So yeah, I find these sort of little mixing things, I'll probably do a bunch more, but I find them really helpful just to sort of get to know your palette a bit better. And there's always an unexpected mix, you know, even if you're aware of color theory, you tend to find colors, you know, especially like this one here. I know that it was going to be sort of a purple, but I didn't realize it was going to be such a dark purple from these sort of vibrant looking colors. So yeah, it's just a really good practice to sort of get into playing around, and inevitably you're going to mix colors when you're out and about that you didn't think you were going to mix. Just trying to find a color. It's really fun to sort of just experiment on your palette. These are pretty true to what the colors are going to get because we have this white background here. So even just when you're out and about, you can mix some colors and see if they work for what you need them for. And especially out when you're drawing things from nature, it's never really going to be these raw colors. So being able to mix these colors together and have a little bit of knowledge about the kind of outcome that you're going to get is really handy. Yeah, so I'll probably make a couple more of these, probably not as formal. I probably won't write the names on there and stuff, but just mucking around and seeing if I can find some more mixes that I really like. All right, so I did go back in and I did a little more detailing on here with my fountain pen. In the fountain pen, I'm using the Platinum Carbon ink. It's waterproof and it's really great, and I put it in a little Platinum Meteor. I put all the links below if you want to check any of that out. And I also went back in and did a little bit of highlighting here with the Signo pen, just because it felt a little bit, I don't know, sort of one-dimensional and dingy. So I just put a little bit of highlight in there just to add a little bit more interest, and I added a little stem on this leaf because it just felt weird just floating in space. Thinking about getting this palette, so far I'm really excited by it. I think it has a lot of potential and the profile is just so small. Oh, you know what I didn't try out? I didn't put it in my Luck Be roll. Let's just actually see if it fits. Okay, so this is my Luck Be tool roll that I take out and about. I normally have this little guy in this pocket, but I'm thinking it might fit behind here. Let's see. So I got to be careful of the little swatch in the back, so I'm going to hold that. Oh my gosh, it fits perfectly. Oh wow, that's really exciting. Oh, and there's my little brown book in here. So this is the little brown one, which is the hot press paper from that thing. I actually haven't used it yet. I just popped it in here. I wonder if it fits on this side as well. Oh, actually it's a better fit in this pocket here. It's a little less tight, maybe because I've stretched it out by putting that one in. But yeah, it can go in either, it can fit in either of these. Oh, that's so exciting. So if you have the Luck Be tool roll, you can definitely fit that in there, which is exciting. Pop that down. I tend to fold it, not roll it anyway, so that's going to be ideal. Oh, that's really great. That's so exciting. Okay, so I think that's it, guys. I just wanted to show you all of that, and hopefully it was helpful in giving you inspiration for creating your own little palette. I'll put everything that I talked about today in the description so you can check it out for yourself, and hopefully this inspires you to go out and do some little paintings of your own. Okay, so thanks for joining me, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!